Welcome to the Buckeye State and TQL Stadium. It's the matchup.
And then for Louisville City, the front three up top are going to be very important. Cam Lancaster coming back in and Tellefson as well, joining Musha Galusa on that front line.
The field. Every neighborhood has one. Grass, concrete, or dirt. The stage is the same. The rules, unwavering. And the goals, beautiful.
It goes in! Improbable scenes!
It's where the dream begins to achieve the ultimate victory.
The underdogs have prevailed once again!
One cup, open to all.
There is a celebration in Orlando.
Now, America's oldest soccer tournament is back.
Oh, it's incredible!
The field doesn't care if you're a pro or trying to be one. It only asks, how bad do you want it?
It's unbelievable.
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
Welcome to the Buckeye State and TQL Stadium. It's the matchup that was circled in the third round of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Two former rivals in the USL Championship, now in different areas of the pyramid. It's FC Cincinnati of MLS welcoming Louisville City FC from the USL Championship. Joined by the former U.S. national teamer Casey White, Mike Watts on hand. These teams have known each other for over half a decade's time. They last met in 2019 in the Open Cup. It's the 12th all-time series between two teams just 98 miles apart. Because of that geography and how good they've been historically, there's a little extra juice tonight.
Not only is this a big game in general, but rivalries are just the best. When two teams come together, there's so much passion, so much excitement in all of these games.
In 2017, it was GB taking a bite out of Louisville City. Then in 2019, Kakuta Mane in the 103rd minute. Today, it's going to be a 15-year-old being handed the keys to this Cincinnati car, Steven Jimenez.
How great is this? Jimenez going into that holding midfield role. He's going to be so important, just keeping the lines connected and making sure he's right in front of that back line and protecting that space.
Yep, he's got the keys, but he doesn't yet have a driver's license. Huge opportunity for him. All the while, Louisville is severely banged up. It really means Enoch Mushagalusa has to be special.
Mushagalusa is a player that has so much 1v1 attacking prowess. He's going to be someone that FC Cincinnati is definitely going to have to keep their eye on.
Let's take a look at the lineups for these teams. FC Cincinnati has made 10 changes from their last game against Portland in MLS. Louisville's made 8 changes from their draw at Charleston over the weekend.
This is a game that's going to be played in the wide spaces. Isaiah Foster coming into the lineup for his first appearance. Alvis Powell also on the opposite side for both for FC Cincinnati. And then for Louisville City, the front three up top are going to be very important. Cam Lancaster coming back in and Tellefson as well, joining Mushagalusa on that front line.
It was the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup that truly thrust FC Cincinnati into the conversation for a Major League Soccer franchise, and for a few years they were off in the wild. But they've certainly turned this into a fortress, this team into one ready to compete for MLS Cup, ready to compete for a title here in the Open Cup this season. Louisville City, the class of the second division since they arrived. Can they knock off their closest rival on the map? And in doing so, advance on to yet another round of 32. 3 first-team debuts for FC Cincinnati. The Louisville City side that has that man, Cameron Lancaster, as lethal a scorer as the championship has ever known. Awaiting the opening whistle on this Wednesday night in the Queen City of Cincinnati. The Dirty River Derby is back. It is Louisville City away to FC Cincinnati at TQL Stadium in Ohio. Tosh. This will run too far. Casey, both these clubs are adamant that they care about the Open Cup. And yet both teams are adamant that whether it's Louisville coming off a waterlogged field in Charleston with some really tired legs and injuries galore, they make so many changes. And for FC Cincinnati, they make 10 changes but have a fairly loaded bench. It's going to be an intriguing 90 or maybe longer. History says Cincinnati doesn't usually get this done in 90.
Well, that's the hard part about this for the managers, is balancing that piece of this competition, but with other games going on as well. And what I think we can see, though, is that the players that are on the field are going to start really, really quickly, both teams looking to go at it. You saw that first direct ball from Tosh trying to get into the final third, so that's an exciting way to start the game.
Apononu, the Toledo native in Northwest Ohio. Jimenez runs that out with Alvis Powell behind him. Jimenez, just one start in the league this year, will go from the jump here today. Ordonez and Baji prepared to press, but it'll be Kyle Morton to kick this away. It's been a very odd year for Kyle Morton. 3 games, 3 losses, 11 goals conceded. And yet, everyone knows the talent that he possesses. He's been on the wrong end of some difficult situations, largely out of his control.
And the team overall has really bounced back from that and really been stingier defensively. And it's good for him to get back into the game, having those outings that he did have and the way those results went for Louisville City. It's going to be important to get back out there and try to help that defensive back line.
Lost to El Paso and Sacramento in back-to-back games by a combined 8 goals to 0 margin. They've responded 4 unbeaten. Ball clipped through. Spinning free at the top of the penalty area. It's driven away by Carlos Mogul. And on to Elijah Winder. Ian Murphy, stride for stride, took it away. Alec Can gets the calling goal for FC Cincinnati. Remember when Roman Celentano was an unknown commodity going against Pittsburgh Riverhounds, a fellow championship side to Louisville? The opening round of the Open Cup last year, well, he won the job, never ceded it back. But Can's waited for the opportunity, gets the chance to go today. As Winder pumps this into space. Manny Perez.
And right now, even though both teams are really trying to get possession of the game, you do see it going from end to end. It's not stuck in that middle third. Both teams trying to expose space, but Louisville City doing a good job here of in possession, trying to dictate some play.
Well, Baji able to win it. Bring it forward. Baji wide. Marco Angulo stripped it free. Baji the beneficiary. And the first effort toward frame is wide of target.
And Baji had other ideas there, didn't he? He just steps right in as they're trying to establish possession. Louisville City just goes straight in the 1v1, right at the back line, gets a little bit of space for that shot, just gets around the outside of the ball a little bit too much to bring it to the wide, near post, excuse me.
This is Murphy. Talking with Pat Noonan, how would Murphy deal with Brian Ombie? The answer, Brian Ombie not in the team today. Picked up an injury in the match against Charleston for Louisville. It's one of a handful of key players that won't feature in the match. Steven Jimenez. Kept away from Mogul. Casey, you've been there with the national team. You were there with a perennial powerhouse in North Carolina collegiately and then as a professional. If you're Jimenez, you're one of these younger guys getting maybe the biggest opportunity of your young career. How important is it to get the right first touch, play the right 5 minutes?
It's vastly important. At that point, you want to play simple, especially early on in the game. Get a few connected passes, get that first tackle in, whatever it may be, just to feel like I belong here. Even though you may know you did, you've practiced, you've trained for this moment, those first moments are really important for a young player.
Offside flag raised on the opposite side now. Appanonu, one of those players out of Bowling Green State, a 21-year-old first-round pick and a Generation Adidas signing. He's putting off the eventual dream of being a doctor to try this professional soccer thing. There's Can. You've been around teams like this where the guy who came in as a starter the year prior supplanted for whatever reason, and being a good pro in that environment is vastly underrated by many on the outside.
And I think it's such a unique situation in the goalkeeping position in general, because there's so much allotted time that's given to the person who gets the starting role, and that can be such an interesting backup position to be in, and you're training every day to be the starter.
Slid through, this is onside, it's Kimi Ordonez around Morton, Ordonez denied by Tosh. Tosh tracked him all the way, Ordonez picks it back up, and now the whistle sees Ordonez turning for a handball, but guilty of the foul.
And just like that, all that space is exposed behind the back line, able to get in. Ordonez doesn't choose to go for goal right away, decides to take on, and it allows Tosh to cut the angle down. He does so well to recover exactly when Ordonez goes to the wide space coming across.
Kimi Ordonez has already debuted for the Guatemalan national team despite just 10 games played in Major League Soccer.
And that space that was just exposed for that last opportunity is something Louisville City is going to have to be aware of, especially because they are getting a little bit of possession. FC Cincinnati is known to be really super organized. They'll trap you and then look for that, and that's something where really Louisville City got away with one right there and are going to have to be careful.
Off the head of Baji. Last year's Open Cup run started with Baji testing out outside back due to limitations in the roster at the time. He's closer to goal now. That's where he and the team would like to see him more often. Picked up by Maris. Major offseason acquisition from El Paso. Winder. Jimenez sprinting down the line. Mushagalusa. Tellefson. Maris. Mogul, a square ball that Baji asked questions about. Flip further, Jimenez stroking it across and away by Haglund.
And that's good pressure there right away, just in the counter press as they start to clear the ball out for Louisville City, just to be able to step in and be able to win possession higher up is going to allow them to have more dangerous possession in the attacking third.
Just got beyond Ordonez. That's a couple times Louisville's been a little slow in midfield to react. Mushagalusa is switched onto the right-hand side. Appanonu drops in, so it's Foster now. Ordonez. That's the throw for FC Cincinnati. As we saw with St. Louis last night, setting the third round attendance record, nearly 23,000. TQL Stadium sold out for their 5 home games this year, 5 wins from 5 tries. Wonderful Wednesday night crowd. Powell.
A bit of a change there from Louisville City, just pressing a little bit higher. They've had most of the possession this first 10 minutes or so, where FC Cincinnati has been able to sit in their mid-block and defend and look to counter. But Louisville City there putting some pressure higher and being able to dispossess.
Driven away by Morton. Marco Angulo getting forward. Into the pocket for Lancaster, got the return. Upended by Appanonu. This is Pinto. Sharpie, his first start of the season, just 27 minutes in the league. And if the rumors of Josh Winder to Benfica in fact turn out true, you'd think Sharpie is going to be required to start the rest of the way now that he's returned from injury, should Winder leave over the summer.
And what better way to come into this kind of a game that has a lot at stake against a great opponent. I mean, it just gets you minutes really quickly and gets you into just the really not quite mid-season play, but teams that are already in good form.
Further by Tellefson, Perez, Maris, with a hand injury early in the season. You can see the cast on his arm. Musha Galusa curling! Can kept it out, but the back heel is wide from Lancaster. Cameron Lancaster deep in his bag, but he's unable to put Louisville ahead 12 minutes in.
And this is just such a dangerous ball from Musha Galusa. It goes right over the back line. A little bit of a flick there. What a great reaction save from Can. And then Cameron Lancaster, a little creativity right there. Love that. I know he probably wished he would have got a touch on that first service, but that's really good from Louisville City, making FC Cincinnati run towards their own goal.
Lancaster, prodigious goal scorer, 25 goals in 2018. That earned him a place on Nashville's USL team the year before they entered MLS on an MLS deal. But ultimately, a year and a half later, loaned back to Louisville City, signed a multi-year deal with the club. And despite some injury issues, still shows he's got just something a little different in front of goal.
You just see that little creativity and flair that he has, the confidence to even try the back heel out of the air. A lot of players aren't even thinking to do that. That might be on the training ground, but you don't see that a lot here in the actual game, and you can tell that he is just confident in front of goal.
Well, Tellefson was standing there with his hands down going, really? Back heel? I'm right here.
You're right, he was.
Big diagonal, finds the sprinting Oscar Jimenez. Fans dive deeper into the thrills and drama of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Join the conversation on Twitter and Instagram at Open Cup and on Facebook at Official Open Cup. Ball sliced through for Ordonez. Back now on Angulo. Steers sideways, just getting under Tellefson. Baji retains. Hagland, over 100 games for Cincinnati. The lone player still on the squad from 2019. Powell seeks the return from Angulo, floated up, back toward Pinto. Tellefson got a touch, and down to Hagland again. Jimenez. One cup set last night, and it was the final game of the night. Monterey Bay defeating San Jose Earthquakes in Seaside, California. Header from Winder. Tellefson swings it into the width. Perez can. And into the Bailey. Corner to come for Louisville City.
And that's something that they do so well, playing the direct ball forward, getting numbers around the ball, gaining possession, just drawing players in, then exposing that space in the wide area. It's a great shot and just a reaction save from Can.
Jimenez. Off of Winder, Lancaster. Danny Cruz, the Louisville head coach, said we did not go to Cincinnati to sit. They do have 4 white jerseys within 35 yards of goal.
And you can see that with the way this game has started. Early on, they gave up an opportunity, but ever since then have started to establish some possession and have definitely chosen to press higher when they can. But what I've liked about both teams is when they haven't been able to press high, they're really compacting the space centrally. So really it's going to be about which teams can expose the wide areas. And right now, Louisville City seems to be getting a little bit more advantage in those spaces.
Sharpie. Ordonez behind him. Angulo pressuring Mogul. for Isaiah Foster. There's the level of this Louisville team. 25 games last year with Colorado Springs. Send into midfield and right to Maris. Mogul, Maris, Sharpie.
And even though Louisville City is really doing a good job of keeping possession, two of the best opportunities besides the Lancaster one was coming off a counterattack, because Cincinnati will really trap you in certain areas, and they've got the front two of Baji and Ordonez that can take off immediately. So there's that little bit of part that Louisville City has to go, okay, we're in possession, but what are we doing when we're resting in case we lose the ball? How are we dealing with those front two?
Nonu runs back. This is not the only game ongoing right now, and there is a goal in a concurrent game. Tommy Williamson scores for Loudoun United. They're a debut team in this tournament against Nice's Flower City Union. Cincinnati fans might be thinking, really, Loudoun? Well, Loudoun looks okay this year. Now they've separated from DC United. Angulo over to Baji. Turns down the overlap from Powell, who, to be fair to Powell, was with the team in 2019, just had a hiatus elsewhere in Miami and Philadelphia before returning. That was Tosh, aggressive, getting the whistle.
But that last sequence by Powell, and you mentioned him on the wide spaces, is really where they want to try to draw out the outside backs of Louisville City. So it's better when the wing backs are getting forward for FC Cincinnati. You can see that they're able to penetrate a little bit higher. It's still not quite able to expose the space in behind yet, but you can see how they're trying to get involved in the attack.
Mushagalusa is yet to really face up on goal and have a moment in this game.
And that's probably part of the game plan. They don't want to give him any time and space. He can run at you 1v1 defensively. He did have the one cross into Lancaster, but as far as running at speed, penetrating at the back line, has really been kept at bay so far.
Throw for the aforementioned Powell. Hagland. Slid away before it found Angulo. Off the head of Jimenez, Tellefson, Lancaster. It's comfortable for Can.
And based on the way that Louisville City is acting when they get possession in the final third, they're trying to penetrate quickly. If they are able to turn over Cincinnati in possession, they look for those opportunities quickly, just like that one with Lancaster.
That's a game that Cincinnati is so adept at that it almost feels like it's fool's gold when you do possess the ball this much and know that Cincinnati can lash back so quickly and effectively.
And that can be so hard because when you are possessing like that, you do gain confidence, but you also can almost lull yourself to sleep sometimes and forget exactly where your positioning should be, where should you be having your countermeasures, so in case you do lose the ball, you can counterpress immediately, and that can be difficult, but Cincinnati is really good at just staying organized and patient.
Murphy took an awkward fall. He's back up. This is Powell seeking Baji, came off of Jimenez, and Morton ran out of real estate. So it will be a corner for a Cincinnati team that, despite being tied for first in the East, still acknowledges that their final product is still off. You can bet that a couple of goals today would certainly raise the tides before they go away to New England on the weekend.
Well, there are definitely some finishing choices in the first two opportunities. I like what was happening right there, though, with that cross. Powell was trying to play it in behind the back line where the backs would be facing their own goal, but Jimenez did a great job defensively. So it's just those little details that are going to make such a difference in that final third.
Corner for Cincinnati, and Morton Leans over the top of Tellefson and yanks it down. Midway point of the first half, anything surprise you?
Not necessarily, but I think that Louisville City's done a good job of keeping possession. Nothing super dangerous besides the one opportunity, but they're continuing to battle to go forward.
Perez flying, Lancaster! Just whiskers wide of the post.
And just as I say that, dangerous possession to be able to get an opportunity. It's been a little bit of recycling around the back and recirculating the ball. Here, they just put their head down and completely go. Manny Perez getting into that wide space that we've talked about, so important. And look at this from Lancaster. I thought that one snuck in the near post, to be quite honest with you. This is a great opportunity just going into the side netting.
Lancaster's been hugely active, as good as he's looked all season. 340 minutes, he has just one goal to his credit, and yet he's got to be the marked man today.
He looks hungry.
Yeah.
He wants a goal, you can tell. I mean, if that back heel wasn't enough of an indication, he just looks like anytime he is around that penalty box, he's taking those opportunities, and I think Danny Cruz has to be happy of just how they're creating opportunities out of this possession. They're all around it.
Perez. Tellefson playing a tad out of position due to injuries for Louisville. The return from Maris. Tapped aside by Foster. Kept alive by Perez. Carlos Mogul. Tellefson, Murphy, left-footed center back, out beyond the halfway line. Taken away by Baji. Wonderful pressure, blazing through, collides with Tosh. Corner Cincinnati.
And it makes complete sense for that direct ball to go to Baji, because it just makes Louisville City just have to face their own goal. You're able to clear the lines a little bit, because right now the counter press from Louisville City, when Cincinnati's trying to play short, is really well executed. So that long service just gets them out of their defending half.
That's Malik Pinto. Debuted March the 25th. Rave about his intelligence in midfield. Ball across. Was looking for Hagland. Up from Jimenez. It's worth noting FC Cincinnati has never gotten out of the opening round of the Open Cup entirely unscathed. They've had to go 120 minutes every single time. And in talking to Pat Noonan, he did acknowledge we do have to be ready for that, especially when it's the team that you've got a historic rivalry with, one that over the course of this week he had to be reminded a little bit of that history before his time.
These are the kind of matchups that you would be surprised if it didn't, go that long, or wasn't a really tight game, because just the rivalry aspect of it, and both teams knowing one another quite well, and then bringing in that extra motivating factor.
And Danny Cruz played with Chris Albright. This is away, and Raymond Gaddis for that matter. Although Gaddis is unavailable for the game. There was an instance where Albright, Cruz, and Gaddis played in the same game with Philadelphia. Lancaster took it away. Cameron Lancaster driving in, scoops for goal, he's wide. Nearly off to the races, but he can't lob can.
And on the flip side, he's just able to put so much pressure up top, and this opportunity is just so close. But look at this pressure right here. It's this little bit of a mistouch and just getting his feet kind of under the ball underneath his feet, not able to just go for a normal finish there, maybe on the ground slotting it, try something special, just doesn't work out.
Well, this is the Lancaster that Louisville dreams of having at the front of this lineup. He and Wilson Harris have battled back and forth for the starting striker position this year after Harris jumped into the starting 11 last year due to Lancaster's injuries, powered the team forward to the championship final, a game they lost against San Antonio on the road. That was the trigger. Lancaster gave chase.
And right now, Cincinnati's just having a really hard time finding their wing backs. It's matched up 3v3 in midfield, and the wingers for Louisville City are pinched inside. So can they find the feet of Isaiah Foster or Powell on this opposite side? But it's really hard right now for them to break that pressure from the front line of Louisville City.
Back by Murphy. Apanonu. Foster. Huge switch of play to Powell. Angulo.
And I expect to see more of that switch of play behind the back line, and especially in those wide areas. Talked to Pat Noonan about that. How are they going to expose the space behind the outside backs? And one of those pieces is with that direct ball, but also can their attacking mids get into that space, maybe a run from deep? But I think a lot of that comes from just establishing more possession, which they're starting to do.
Forward from Apanonu. For Baji. Tosh. Shielded. Eventually took over. Jimenez diced through by Pinto, and the shot is on and in, but it's offside for Kimi Ordonez. Well, you could see the flag go up, and the fans unappreciative. There is no VAR in the U.S. Open Cup, same as it was 107 editions ago.
And it was just incredibly close. Ordonez trying to make that run off the back shoulder. And you see the touch here, making the run off the back shoulder. And as it's released, just right in behind there. And for Baji, doesn't matter. He's not affecting the play, but just a little bit of a shoulder in there for that offside call.
Well, Tosh will say that was the plan all along.
Yeah, he completely planned it.
Yeah. Ordonez has been dangerous, but still scoreless with half an hour complete in Cincinnati. Maris, Mogul, Jimenez, Mushagalusa. Aligns with Powell. The winner of this match can pay attention tomorrow when the round of 32 draw kicks off. Scheduled to begin at 2 Eastern time. It's American soccer's favorite matchup pairing mechanism. It's on the BR app and BR YouTube page. This is an unfortunate moment for Malik Pinto. We've all been on the wrong end of one of these.
Oh, 100%.
Pinto's back up. That's good news. Of course, Pinto doesn't have to look too far to find another truly great professional player. His sister Brianna playing in the NWSL.
That is one talented family.
No
I'll
kidding.
tell you that.
course, the fans here, tremendous artists. GB sends his regards, but from where, nobody knows.
That's true.
For those uninitiated, I suppose, the 2017 Open Cup, to give this some measure of context, GB and Cincinnati off to a tremendous start. They'd end up setting the USL Championship points record that season. It was the year that they eventually made this great Open Cup run. These teams met in the Open Cup that year, just a few games after these sides had met amidst the regular season. Niall McCabe not with the team on the bench tonight, but GB was deemed to have bitten Niall McCabe, a 6-game suspension. Cincinnati at no point acknowledged truth behind that. Nevertheless, their appeal denied, but that doesn't cover the Open Cup. So GB features in the Open Cup match between the teams while still suspended by the USL, scores the game-winning goal shortly out of halftime, and of course it's become folklore here in Cincinnati. I was on the Post podcast in Cincinnati, and the first question they asked was, did GB bite Niall McCabe? The world may never know.
Those are the things that make these kind of games great. It's just the rivalry and the stories that come out of games, and obviously the intensity that comes from playing against your fiercest rivals.
Spinning free Marco Angulo, big chance for him. He was a fairly big money acquisition, rumored to be about a $3 million transfer, and yet this really a chance for him to own this group on the field, be the big name.
And I think if he can get on the ball more, that's going to bode well for Cincinnati. The 2 8s, Pinto and Angulo, are really important to the way they want to build and find space that penetrates the back line. And you can see he's starting to get more touches into the game.
Morton living dangerously, but Ordonez off key. Powell and Oscar Jimenez have become close friends. All the while, Baji with a stiff arm into the back of Dylan Maris.
Take a look back at the last foul by Baji. Just Maris doing really well to try and keep possession, but trying to step a little bit higher as Baji there just gets a little bit too anxious.
There are now matches ongoing on Bleacher Report and the CBS Golazo network. CBS has coverage of the Miami Classico, and what if I told you Miami FC leads that match just minutes in? Cincinnati looking for their go-ahead. Ordonez. Miami FC could not find the goal for the first 6 or so games of the season, back 4 over the weekend, and then Christian Sorto scores to open up against Inter Miami tonight. And all of a sudden, Phil Neville is looking over both shoulders.
Yeah, they're definitely on a roll. They're starting to figure that out. How can they create chances, Miami FC, and they're starting to put them away.
If there's someone with a scythe behind him, it's there for him, regrettably. All the while here, two teams in good form. Cincinnati, 20 points in their opening 9 games, tied for first in Major League Soccer. Will take on New England on the weekend, a matchup that everybody's excited about. Down to Baji. Offside once more. Louisville sits 3rd in the championship's Eastern Conference after a draw against Charleston over the weekend. At the time, a battle of 1 versus 2.
And that partnership up front between Ordonez and Baji is just starting to get better and better as the half goes on. They play quite a bit different. Baji is really testing that back line, but still is able to check into space. Ordonez draws so much attention, and they're really playing well in partnership. You can just see that it's getting more natural as the half goes on.
Got away from Winder onto Mogul. Winder again, but overcooked that. You know, for what it's worth, it's very rare that in this stage of the Open Cup, both teams' leading scorers would be coming off the bench. Brandon Vasquez available for FC Cincinnati, their leading scorer a year ago, along with Yuya Kubo and Lucho Acosta, who both really wanted to be in the team. They both want to get some minutes in tonight. All driven through the penalty area, beyond Can. For Louisville, Wilson Harris available off the bench as Lancaster got the call to start, so there may well be some fireworks. Surely Cincinnati would have chased that a little harder if they had thought somebody had actually gotten a touch to that. It is a throw for Louisville. Sometimes the longer a game remains scoreless, it can become edgy for the MLS side. Conversely, they usually know how much firepower they have available to them off the bench.
And I think watching this first half, not only, like you said, the firepower that can come off the bench at halftime or into the second half, depending on how they want to manage minutes, the reality is the way they're playing, they're letting Louisville City dictate play because I think they know they can counterattack here and at least cause some trouble for the back line. They've shown that they've been able to do that, although a little stifled a little more as we go throughout. The interchange has gotten better, but the best two opportunities were at the beginning of the game, turning Louisville City over in possession.
It's a trio of blue shirts progressing. At the back of Maris, Jimenez bypasses Powell. Strong slide, but Jimenez there to carry forward. They're going to bring play back and show a yellow card. Steven Jimenez is booked. Young player has already been called into the youth national team by both Mexico and the United States.
This is from that last challenge coming in, and play did continue on there as Jimenez tried to get forward. That's Oscar Jimenez, but Steven Jimenez booked for that initial foul as he came in. It looked like his boot might have been up a little bit.
And Lancaster, who would drop back to receive the ball, remains down. Give you another look. That's the trailing foot, isn't it?
It might have been there, yes, because the initial challenge was one. It looked like he had the step on Lancaster there.
What do you think of the performance so far? I mean, you're talking about a 15-year-old signed as a homegrown in November. Youngest signing for the club, first team debut for the young man.
I think it's 0-0, and he's a holding mid, so there's something to be said for just staying connected to the back line in your debut and being able to do that with somewhat ease, and he's done really well there. A few times there's been some space for Lancaster and Tellefson to take advantage of, but I think he's done well. I'd like to see them get him on the ball a little bit more because the 6 is so important to just maintaining possession and see what he can do there as far as helping the attack, but I think it's a great start for him.
Jimenez, mature beyond his years. And is, put in a concise performance, but a positive one nonetheless to this point.
It's really hard to even think he's 15 out there watching him. I mean, that's just incredible that he's able to be in this game and maintaining that position. That's so essential to how teams play.
Well, give and go. Perez. Jimenez. Mushagalusa with a hitch in his step. Scoreless approaching halftime. 10 changes to this FC Cincinnati side, a marginally different formation, a 3-4-1-2. You might typically see that it won't play everybody out of position to fit one narrative. Year 2 under Pat Noonan, they went from 3-time Wooden Spoon winner to a 12-win team last year that reached the Eastern Conference semifinal in MLS. I had that game against Pittsburgh last year. At that point in MLS in the regular season, Cincinnati had won 16 games. Since then, they have won 16 games. Completely different than it was a year ago. Of course, last year, that was in 98 tries, 16, 63, and 19. They're 16, 7, and 13 since in 36 games. Off the head of Sharpie. Caroms away from Ordonez. It's Angulo. Perez.
And Cincinnati's doing a good job of picking moments to press. They have been really organized defensively, but when the ball is going backwards, whether it's bouncing or a long ball, they're definitely trying to put pressure higher up, and you've seen that they forced a few turnovers for throw-ins just to allow them to get a little bit possession higher up in their attacking half.
Can. Powell. Kambaji sitting in the pocket. Powell spins. Identifies Baji wide. That's Mogul into the challenge.
Louisville City's dropped into that 4-2-3-1 defensively. You can see how compact it is centrally. They'll give up this space all day long. They've enjoyed a lot of the ball, but when they're clearly out of possession, they're doing really well to keep things really tight defensively.
Foster off of Perez. Forward from Pinto. Ordonez. Followed by Sharpie. Evasive. Ordonez again by Tellefson. Three added minutes in the first half, and it begins with a Louisville free kick. Seated by Ordonez, catching Winder. Pinto, forward by Angulo.
You can see that they're trying to penetrate in that wide space, FC Cincinnati, but Louisville City just staying really compact defensively. I've been really impressed by when they have turned over the ball, how they've either counter-pressed or just been in a position to be able to win the ball back immediately.
Perez. Pinto unable to win a throw here. For what it's worth, the series between these teams is just one win apart, the 12th all-time meeting. What is not separated is the Louisville supporters, the Coopers, used to have a game with the Pride and Die Innenstadt. A friendly before every match between the teams, the Plastic Cup. It finished 5-5. Casey gets in that game, you can expect a two-footed tackle to the ankle.
100%.
There's no cup that you're playing for that you aren't willing to get thrown out of a game for as well.
True, just a competitor.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
That's a wonderful ball through. Baji clipping across. Ordonez brought it down. That just skimmed over the luscious hair of Marco Angulo. It will be a corner, however, for FC Cincinnati.
This ball to break the line to Baji is so dangerous. You can see him take that quick look, trying to get it across Angulo, making the initial run. Ordonez gets to this back post. Jimenez does a good job just not to bite too much and able to deflect as Ordonez tried to get around.
The final seconds of the opening half. At halftime, the end of halftime, we'll show you some of the highlights of that magical Open Cup run from the lower divisions that FC Cincinnati reached the semifinal. That's caught by Morton. First half highlights as well. Forward from Tellefson, Musha Galusa, who's largely been a first half bystander. Maris trying to direct traffic. Swings it ahead to Jimenez. Maybe the final attacking play of the half? Surely it is. And as anticipated, tightly contested. Cincinnati and Louisville, as it ever was, scoreless at the break in the third round of the Open Cup.
And I think the first 10 minutes, it really was more end-to-end as we got into this half. A little more calculated, a little more structured approach from both of these teams. But there's goals in this game. You can see passing lanes starting to open up.
A number of chances for both sides, for Ordonez, for Lancaster. But nothing has hit the back of the net yet. Louisville arrives at TQL Stadium. It is a rivalry renewed. Ordonez denied by Tosh. Lancaster has come close. Scoreless at the break. Here are the sprinklers. Welcome back to the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. It is halftime between FC Cincinnati and Louisville City, two old rivals from the days in the championship when both were dreaming of giant slaying in the Open Cup. We thought we'd walk you through some of the memories from that tremendous 2017 run in the Open Cup. Hell is Real was born in this tournament. FC Cincinnati against the Columbus Crew. First matchup against an MLS side in this edition of the tournament. It's the aforementioned GB. Always part of the proceedings, 1-0 over Columbus. So advance on to take on the Chicago Fire, then still playing in Bridgeview. This one would go the distance. FC Cincinnati creating and ultimately succeeding. It finished scoreless, but Mitch said no. In the quarterfinals, it was Miami. They knocked them off 1-0 on the road. It opened the door to a semifinal against New York Red Bulls. It's a game in which Cincinnati led 2-0. Corbin Bone, who's played on both sides of the rivalry we see tonight. Austin Berry. Then Gonzalo Verón scores. Bradley Wright Phillips in the 78th. Again in the 101st. New York Red Bulls advance to the final. And for FC Cincinnati, their run, which saw over 30,000 fans, 33,250 attend that match at historic Nippert Stadium, come up just a bit short, but lead to so much greatness to follow. We've got more greatness to come here. It's scoreless at the intermission at TQL Stadium. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup continues with coverage on Bleacher Report. It is halftime in the 108th edition of the tournament, the third round featuring FC Cincinnati of Major League Soccer and Louisville City of the USL Championship. Mike and Casey, let's catch you up on the highlights from yesterday. This was a cup set alert, but it would not actually be a cup set because in the 5th minute, how about Matthews on the board? Yazid Matthews igniting the key. It would be short-lived.
And that was a great strike from distance just to get things started really quickly in this game. But you're right. In the second half, 3 goals in 6 minutes coming back for Minnesota.
And Minnesota, that reached all the way to the round of 16 last year, fell to Union Omaha, would get some measure of revenge against the lower division side here. They bagged 3 goals. And Adrian Heath and Minnesota United are due to reach the round of 32. Detroit just struggling in the 60th to the 66th minute and unable to recover. That is a fine lofted effort over Steinwasser. And for Detroit, it wasn't meant to be. Last year, they knocked off Columbus. There'll be no cup set in the cards at Keyworth Stadium in Hamtramck this time around. That would be the insurance goal. And really well-taken goals by the Loons.
And just some real quality from them. And when there was mistakes, they capitalized on it and did it in such a short amount of time. You almost don't know how to respond when it comes that quickly.
Monterey Bay took on San Jose. This would be at Cardinale Stadium in Seaside, California. It was the only game ongoing in the late window. How about Christian Valesky? San Jose, no matter what opponent you're playing against, cannot make mistakes like this and win.
You are going to get punished when this happened, and not even really pressing super hard, but just a mistake there in the back. Valesky makes no mistake about it. 1 opportunity there, 1 goal, and that's the difference.
So Monterey Bay, the second-year club, knocks off San Jose. They'll find out their fate in the draw tomorrow. So too will the winners of these games. 2 goals for Williamson, 1 for Zach Ryan. Loudon is dominating Flower City from Nisa. Miami leads Inter Miami. That's pretty interesting, to say the least. Atlanta's jumped out in front against Memphis. Those late games. Finalist last year, Sacramento jumps into the fray. And San Diego, Landon Donovan's team, takes on the Sounders.
And these are all great matchups, but that Sacramento Republic-Oakland Roots matchup, obviously a big one and a rivalry there. And then the Portland Timbers and Orange County SC, another team looking to go into an MLS stadium and get a win.
And, of course, Columbus and Indianapolis, the Columbus-Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest. It's scoreless in that one. And round 3 concludes tonight with the draw tomorrow. You'll see it on BR app, BR YouTube. Meanwhile, stick around. We still have Cincinnati and Louisville. Another half, maybe more, left in the hopper when we return. Halftime of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, Cincinnati, Louisville, scoreless at the break. But we do have highlights to show you. Mike and Casey, let's get you caught up on everything you may have missed. Why would you miss anything at all? If you tuned in about 5-10 minutes late, you missed a couple of chances in this one. It was the press from Cincinnati that created early.
Baji getting in the 1v1 here, creates a little bit of space, tries to go to that near post side, and not able to get it just a little bit wide, but Louisville City establishing a lot of possession. Again, now it's Ordonez getting in the 1v1, tries to take on Morton, but Tosh just with a diving tackle there, slides in, doesn't allow anything on frame.
FC Cincinnati with good chances off that counter. For Louisville, they got chances on the counter. They also got this from wide service. Watch this back heel from Lancaster.
Lancaster with a lot of flair in this moment. Mushagalusa plays such a dangerous ball in. Lancaster not only goes for the heel, but flicks it up so he can do that. It almost goes on frame. And then Louisville City exposing space wide, going forward as Perez takes on here, finding Lancaster. This one's so close to slipping into that near side.
And so we remain scoreless here at the break. And the fans are ready for the second half. Hey, it's Opie.
That's my favorite mascot right there. I'm so glad he's here. I love that guy.
That's excellent. Well, it shows you how big a game it is here at Nippert Stadium, ready for the second half of play. FC Cincinnati of MLS taking on Louisville City from Second Division USL Championship. Two sides in really solid form in the league. 4 unbeaten for Louisville City, 3rd in the Second Division's Eastern Conference. FC Cincinnati tied for 1st in the Supporters Shield standings, and 5-0 on their home ground to start 2023.
And I'm really interested to see how both of these teams come out in this half. And like you said, comfortable in their home stadium, 5-0-0. They seemed comfortable in that first half, even though they gave a lot of possession to Louisville City, not in any rush, quite composed, and just looking to try to go off the counterattack.
This is Tosh. Spins on Ordonez. Baji pressing. Acosta, Kubo, Vasquez, Barreal, all available for this second half off the bench for FC Cincinnati. Louisville could turn to their captain, Paulo Del Piccolo, Wilson Harris, Tyler Gibson, who had a brief stint in Cincinnati, but a broken leg cost him his season there before going to Indy, eventually Louisville. There's the contact with Winder. Ball threaded ahead. Got it away from the on-rushing Angulo, through for Angulo. Now Morton. Forget using your hands.
A little bit of a sketchy moment right there, just playing it back into that area that's so scary and so dangerous, but luckily able to just clear it out for Louisville City.
Morton's 4th start all competitions this year, supplanted in the lineup by Simmel, the rookie out of Marshall. It's gone haywire for Elvis Powell.
And Cincinnati is already stepping up just a little bit higher in this half. You can see that they're pressing up a bit, and I'll be honest, I thought that might have been for Powell as well. He looked a little bit surprised, but I think just starting a little higher up the field has made Louisville City be uncomfortable in these first few minutes.
History says this has 120 written all over it. If you're either coach, other than the subs that you have to make, there's a couple players that may well be on a minutes restriction. Certainly Sharpie for Louisville at center back is under that kind of threat. When do you start making changes in a match like this, knowing that you want to get it done in 90, but you have to prepare to get it done in 120?
Most of the time, I think you're really considering it around the 60-minute mark. It could give or take, 5 to 10 minutes, just if you start to realize that no one's really breaking down the game. But I think it can happen quite early.
Angulo through. Baji driving on Sharpie. Pump the brakes. Powell pirouettes around Mushagalusa.
And to that point, if a goal is happening in this game, then it can change really how the manager looks at it as well. If they're up a goal, don't really have to chase the game, don't have to really wear players out, can start to put those players in even sooner. So if a goal happens, I think it really changes the complexity of how managers are able to take care of the minutes.
Lancaster. Tosh. Lancaster picked off by Murphy. Took the space. Tosh does one better. Off the head of Tosh. Jimenez.
And Lancaster is making his way slowly up to back into that 9 position. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm happy he's going all the way back to get the ball. He has been so dangerous when he has been around goal. He's pressed high, he's given himself opportunities, but you can see him kind of going back into midfield trying to get on the ball a little bit more.
Turning the corner, trying to clip it across. Powell off of Jimenez. A roar from the crowd at TQL. A corner to come for the orange and blue. Malik Pinto. Jimenez. Powell. That of Perez, offside flag. As Ordonez and Baji late arriving in the recovery.
And look at the higher position of Foster and Powell already in this game. They're staying a little bit higher. Now Louisville City's advancing. They're going to have to drop back in that wing back position. But in the first half, we didn't really see them getting as high up the field. And I think that's making a big difference for Cincinnati in the attacking half.
Well, it's lost by Perez, and Foster looking to push the tempo for a moment. Flicked back by Maris and all the way to Morton. You know, the first 5-10 minutes, there were a couple turnovers in midfield that made you think this could be a long night for Louisville City. They've largely rectified that issue since.
They have, and Mogul's been really important in that midfield role and just being really calm on the ball. I think for me in the first half, he was kind of the unsung hero in possession because Cincinnati couldn't quite figure out how to get the ball off his foot. But they really, as the half progressed into this half, haven't been as exposed in possession when they lose it.
Slid out of play. Mogul really came on at the end of last season. 19-year-old from Shelbyville in Kentucky. His training habits improved, his consistency in training improved, performed well in games. It was the RGV game on the road that he perhaps had his best game yet as a professional, and has springboarded him into this season. He had just 3 starts last year. He already has a pair this season. Wrong-sided Foster.
And it's really hard to find any of the Cincinnati midfielders right now with the way Elijah Winder's coming back and matching up with Malik Pinto. You've got Mogul there that's matching up as well on Anguilla, and it's difficult for them to play through that midfield space.
Well, speaking of hard to play through, Maris got sent in reverse. Angulo. Powell. Ordonez. Pinto able to push it through. Ball curled in behind. Morton goes flying for it. He wasn't the only one. And out for a goal kick. That could have been the moment for FC Cincinnati.
And it was a switch-up play. Ordonez starts it off. What a great ball from Pinto on the half turn. It exposes Foster in the wide space. This ball in behind, it just bounces just a little bit over his foot there. It's a great run into the penalty area. Almost there and connecting.
And Ordonez continues to wait for his moment.
And the great thing about that entire play is Ordonez started the change of point from the opposite side. And it's almost like you can lull a back line to sleep. He started it and continued his run and almost was able to be the recipient of a great ball.
Advantage play. Tellefson allows it through. That's a high arm from Mushagalusa into Haglund, and Haglund is having an extended look. And it appears the referee had a good look at it as well. Kalim Radisov, the referee for this game. Ordonez. Mogul knocks it forward. Panonu. Baji dropped off the front line. Pinto has the option wide. Murphy.
And that's better by Cincinnati. It all starts with breaking the line with that first ball to Angulo. It allows the entire team to get up into the final third. It's that one penetrative ball that's really going to, attempt to break the line of Louisville City.
Baji offside. Baji may have an increased role here moving forward. The summer brings with it the Gold Cup, which could see Brandon Vasquez called in by the U.S. The news that Brenner's transfer to Udinese in Italy is complete, with a reported sum $10 million, along with add-ons and a future sell-on percentage. Vasquez available to come off the bench tonight.
What I've liked about Baji he's always looking to be right on the back shoulder of a player, trying to penetrate the back line, expose that space in behind, and that's dangerous in these games to have someone who's doing that, because even if he doesn't receive those passes, he's opening up that space in front of the back line for the midfield to play into.
Mogul. This will slip through. Perez whips it across. If Lancaster gets that, he is all alone at the top of the sixth, but Mushagalusa only have eyes on the front of his head.
And it's good that there's two runners in the box there. Not sure if there was communication from Lancaster. I'm assuming there was, because he looked like he really wanted that one. It's a great ball from Perez. And Mushagalusa is trying to control that right there, but it had such pace on it, might have been able just to let that go through for a better opportunity.
Pressed to win the ball by Foster. Two options percolating. It's Foster curling across, header down, slips by Perez. Tellefson reverses at Baji, closest to the service. Ordonez making the run as well. Foster bounces out to Elijah Winder. Angulo caught him from behind.
For the first 15 minutes, Cincinnati really has had the majority of possession, so Louisville City can really benefit from just connecting a few passes and trying to reestablish the possession that they saw in the first half.
Attack on here for Louisville City, ahead for Lancaster. Mogul sliding for Perez. And the first changes do in fact come right at 60 minutes. Crowd roars. Why not? Alvaro Barreal coming in, 3 assists in 9 starts in the league this year. That's it for Isaiah Foster. And Matt Miazga set to enter for Cincinnati. Nick Hagland comes off after 60 minutes. Miazga gets a strong ovation.
And both subs that can definitely impact the game. Barreal, especially from the back, with the wide spaces being so open, the service that he can provide and providing opportunities forward could be the difference in this one.
Miazga has played every minute of the league season. Barreal has played all but 4 minutes of the league season. Josh Winder and Wilson Harris set to enter for Louisville in a moment. Although with Winder coming in, he could come on for Sharpie. He could also switch to a 3-back to best fit what remains on their bench. Time will tell. Jimenez will wait, and Louisville will make their first changes just about a minute and a half after Cincinnati. That's it for Lancaster. Inspired performance, less involved in the second half.
I definitely think he has been a huge impact today. That opportunity he had with the back heel that we've seen, and just that one to the near post, that's the one we thought he snuck in right there. You're right, an extremely inspired performance, very active, especially in the first half, both defensively and then creating opportunities for himself.
And Wilson Harris, who bagged 15 goals last season, and then Josh Winder. Again, reports swirling around Benfica. Winder called into the U.S. national team, the senior team, ahead of that USA-Mexico game. Mushagalusa. Bouncing ball, tough to deal with. Out to Tellefson. Clips the service over Harris. Sam Powell tracking.
And we're seeing both managers make those substitutions around the 60th, 61st minute mark, and just the management of the minutes. But when you have players like that that are able to come in off the bench, I expect to see a lot of impact, not only on the offensive side, but just making sure the back line, when you put Miazga in for Cincinnati and Winder in for Louisville City, that they'll really be able to shore up the back line defensively as well.
Yeah, you would think that Hagland and Sharpie specifically out of the center back positions were planned 60-minute changes. Mushagalusa back to Jimenez. Jimenez would be a familiar name back to the USL Championship days for FC Cincinnati. The 2-time champion Louisville City. Last year they set their club points record. Tellefson. Harris sprinting back. Got there before Angulo. Harris. Kimi Ordonez. Tug from behind by Winder. Powell, still unimpeded. Important interception by Perez. And sent away by Morton. Fans dive deeper into the thrills and drama of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Join the conversation on Twitter and Instagram at Open Cup and on Facebook at Official Open Cup. First by Miazga, Can. Stripped free, Louisville on the run. Maris, Miazga cleans up in behind.
Really what's been impressive about both of these teams, they've both shown that they can establish possession. They've both been able to really just experience spells of that throughout the game, but both teams have been really good defensively in the final third. Although there's been a lot of good possession, not a lot of clear chances in the final third based on how each of these teams are recovering and being able to cover for one another, whether it's wide or central.
From Appanonu. Winder kept it from Powell. Since 2017, USL Championship clubs have advanced on the road against MLS teams in this tournament 8 times in 70 tries. That's Perez upended. One cup set last night, Monterey Bay at home against San Jose. Louisville trying to be the 9th team in the last 5 tournaments.
This is a good underlapping run from Perez, and just a pattern of play where he can get into that wide space just a little bit late. So close to being a clean tackle there, but Murphy comes in as he's pulled out of his center back position to stop that attack.
Louisville led their league in set-piece goals last year, 28.
And there haven't been a lot of set pieces in this game. For a rivalry game, it's been pretty clean overall, but it just takes one that could be really dangerous to create an opportunity.
Shantosh took the penalties, but he had 9 goals last year. A few off set pieces. Forward from Mogul. Header snapped down, and Harris denied by Can, who bangs off the post in the process. Ordonez. Harris intervened. Angulo. Dipping back Baji. Working through Jimenez. Appanonu. Miazga. Appanonu was playing in the middle of that back three, shifted off to the right with Miazga's inclusion.
And you can see Miazga in that last spell of possession, wanting to play forward, having to choose to recycle back through Can, just wanting players ahead of him for the movement. You can see the way in which he gestured, but he definitely can dictate play out of that center role.
Tellefson ahead to Harris. Leading Mushagalusa. Tellefson slow to get up. There will be a change here. for playing out of position. Tellefson was pretty valuable in that first half, especially when Louisville was creating.
He kind of goes into different spaces, comes inside a little bit, isn't just staying out on the wing space, which has really allowed Perez to occupy the outside channel. And it creates just some decisions for the wing backs and the center backs of how they're going to deal with it. So he's been very effective when he's been able to come inside.
You saw Ray Serrano and Amadou Dia to join in a moment. Talking to Danny Cruz can be such a treat, in part because of how he handles his own performance as well as that of the team. The conversations we have with him usually have a tremendous amount of depth to them, including the fact that El Paso, poor game, didn't work out, didn't exactly get blown off the field, but the result certainly felt lopsided in that fashion. And then Sacramento was an out-of-body experience for Louisville City, unlike any they had experienced. A brutal early schedule. Perhaps they overcompensated after perhaps not hitting the press just right against El Paso. Sacramento dropped 5 on Louisville City. The changes are coming here. Diaz come on. And Serrano as well. Serrano's going to replace Tellefson. But he is, last year, the youngest coach to ever reach the second division final in this country. So there's still so much learning ahead of him.
And there's a lot of different challenges you're going to face and the way you're going to set up your teams to play. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for them, they have bounced back and been so much stingier defensively than that 2-game spell. And that's part of the big moments that matter as you're managing a season, managing a campaign, is how do you correct those things and continue to move forward.
Pinto. Baji at the back of Winder. By the way, Perez maybe created the best chance of all in that first half, flying up the side. He comes off here 70 minutes in. Early from Winder. Serrano. L'Oreal. The 2023 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup continues with more exciting twists and turns. The round of 32 commences May 9th, continues May 10th. Tonight's winner learns their round of 32 opponent and the location tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on the BR app or BR Football's YouTube channel.
I think if you're Louisville City, you've got to start really going into those wide spaces again, even though those changes happen. You mentioned Perez being part of that and really being dangerous on that near side channel. But now with Serrano in there and Amadou Dia, that's something you can still continue to do with the attacking presence that they can have and going forward.
Away from Pinto, back to L'Oreal. Pinto, for L'Oreal. Over the top, Ordonez, Morton. Well, this will be a throw, but it's by a slim margin.
Once you decide to come, that's all he really could do there. I mean, he was really aggressive to come off of his line and just had to play very safe in that moment.
Ordonez. L'Oreal through, a deflection, and Tosh nods back to Morton. Harris. Maris. Dia. And Winder. Mushagalusa charging. Out there in front of Miazga. Corner Louisville City as we approach the final quarter hour. Would you expect anything less when these teams meet?
It's definitely been tightly contested. I like that Mushagalusa got a little bit more into the 1v1 there. That's what we haven't seen a whole lot of today. And a lot of that has to do with just the patience and the way Cincinnati defends. And also when they're higher up the field, not letting him turn. But when he is able to face forward, it's better for Louisville City.
The corner from Carlos Mogul. Two changes en route for Cincinnati. That's a trump card. Lucho Acosta, coming off the bench, was dealing with a shoulder injury. Pain within the game hasn't really been a problem for him. Angulo comes off. Steven Jimenez comes off, and his first team debut is complete. Junior Moreno for Jimenez.
And this is going to be really interesting to see how this changes that midfield battle. We talked about it a little bit earlier about the midfielders from Cincinnati just not being able to get on the ball as much just because of the outnumbered situation there in midfield with the wingers tucking in for Louisville City. But you've got to think this is going to be a little bit different landscape here now.
Yuya Kubo and Brandon Vasquez are the remaining subs for Cincinnati. Launched ahead, Barreal. Barreal into the penalty area, blasted at Morton.
And every opportunity that Cincinnati has gotten has been something quick. It's gone really quickly. Louisville City hasn't been able to recover. This shot just going to the near post. A pretty simple save in the end for Morton.
Winder. Dia. Dia's arrival pushing Jimenez to right back. That's a free kick for FC Cincinnati. Head of Jimenez. It was held up by Serrano. Harris. There's chalk on the ball, but he did keep it in. Back heel back to Harris from Serrano. Harris with an opening.
And I love that play there in the wide area. It's really, really nice from Serrano and Harris. You see the individual creativity there, but also just the way to play in combination to get an opportunity.
Mushagalusa against Apanonu. Powell joins. Mogul. Mogul.
And here's that last play just on the sideline, barely keeping it in, sees the run from Serrano, and then again with the give and go there with the back heel. Harris doesn't connect real well on that opportunity, but starting to play a little bit more in combination there to get forward.
The hold up from Baji. There's Acosta. he desperately wanted to play some role in this game. And he does here. Barreal now. Angles in on Jimenez. Reaches for the end line. Barreal crossing off of Tosh. And back up to Serrano. An opening to run into. Winder sprinting. And eventually overtaken by Moreno. The shot from Harris into the hands of Can.
And the game's starting to go end a little bit more now with Acosta there in the middle. Of course he can score, of course he can assist, but I like the small movements that he does in midfield. Just stands in the right places. It's not always sprinting everywhere. It's finding angles to be on the ball and pull the strings. And you can just see the midfield start to open up as he gets more on it.
Best 11 in MLS last year, 11 goals, 13 assists. Slid past Maris, recovered by Mogul. Louisville into the final third. And Louisville a bit scattershot at this stage.
And it's a little bit tentative. Both shots from distance. Do I want to take it or do I not? There doesn't seem to be that full commitment to taking the long range shot. I'd love to see them continue to really try to find something on frame. So shooting from distance is great, but it has to be something that's going to at least force a save.
Stoppage here as Can identifies the right panel of the ball. Tyler Gibson set to enter for Louisville in a moment's time. We've reached that point. I believe that's Murphy who's gone to the energy gel on the touchline.
Whatever you got to do.
That's it.
Managing.
Well, here's where things get interesting, one would think, tactically for Louisville City. They've left Mogul on, who's been playing and holding midfield. Gibson charges into the game here. Jimenez comes off an outside back. So there will be a square peg in a round hole somewhere.
And sometimes it's figuring out who can adapt the best. How adaptable can you be, whether it's adapting to, you have to go to a different system because of the personnel you have out on the field, or are you just going to be in a different position that's not your primary one? And which of these teams can really adapt the best to that could be the big difference.
Drop back to Maris. Over to Serrano, down to Harris. Reverse to Maris. Mushagalusa, the option wide. Mushagalusa found an opening. Mushagalusa, that's blocked by Miazga. Sent back by Winder and clipped away. And here is the U.S. men's national team forward off the bench, Brandon Vasquez. Able to pick up a hugely important goal against Portland in the 58th minute on the weekend. Talking with Pat Noonan, the head coach for Cincinnati, he said no one puts more pressure on Brandon Vasquez than he does, but the reaction from him and his teammates showed that may have been a weight off his shoulders. Just because you scored as many goals as you did doesn't mean you're going to hit that number again. It's how you can affect the game in different ways. Serrano, a blast! Off frame. Serrano, it's sort of meandered through the game since entering, but that would have turned this completely off its axis.
He had a little bit of the combination play with Harris earlier, and you saw how he can play in combination with him, but that was just an awesome opportunity right there. He unleashes on that shot.
Mogul invites the pressure. The pressure eats Louisville alive in the moment. Acosta clips it between two, got the return, but a heavy touch, or perhaps a misguided pass. Ball through, this should be onside, it's Winder. Can, aggressive as ever. Vasquez chasing, of course, he could well be gone for a month if he gets called in by Anthony Hudson for the upcoming Gold Cup, which will feature games here. Acosta Barreal, wonderful run, cuts it across. There's the goal. Kimi Ordonez. It's finally arrived for FC Cincinnati in the 85th minute.
And this is just an incredible run of play. There's so many runs above the ball, so many different players that are looking to penetrate behind the back line. Acosta has his pick, but a lot of pressure right here. Just dispossesses in the final third, keeps possession, a little quick look over the shoulder, and doesn't decide to play wide. Finds that gap right between the center back and outside back. A great ball across from Barreal, and that is just a great finish from Ordonez. That's what happens when you get numbers in the box.
His first goal for the first team at FC Cincinnati. Cool and calm as ever. And Cincinnati leads in this Derby third-round matchup in the Open Cup 1-0. Ordonez debuted for the Guatemalan senior national team before he scored a goal for FC Cincinnati in MLS. Bagged 4 in 2 games in MLS Next Pro already this year, 4 in 13 starts last year, and he was knocking on the door for 85 minutes.
He's been very involved. He plays off the line well, he tries to go in behind, but there were so many things to love about that goal. His continued run almost got him a goal in the first half when he started play. There again, coming into the back post area, that was one thing to love about it, but Acosta, man, just the vision to draw out Mogul just a step so he can find that seam behind the back line. It's just great vision from the midfielder.
4 minutes and stoppage time remains. Barring a Louisvillian miracle, Cincinnati would watch tomorrow's draw to see who they'd see in the round of 32 in this year's Open Cup on BR app and BR Football's YouTube page, i.e. where you're watching right now, essentially. That's going to hang in the air and be offside. You know, Pat Noonan last year had just taken the job, just taken the reins. He felt like the culture was starting to get in place, that there were glimpses of what could be. Really, from that point, a tremendous season. Vasquez overtaken from behind, free kick, FC Cincinnati.
Clever from Vasquez there, a bit of a mistouch when he collected the ball and just decides, let me put my body in front and earn an opportunity for the team. And we haven't seen a ton of these set pieces in this area, but you can see that first touch gets caught under his feet just a little bit there as he tries to go back on the right foot, draws the foul.
Pat Noonan said this is the fastest path to a trophy. 5 or 6 games is all it takes. The wacky, waving, inflatable arm flailing tube man behind goal, joining along with the fans in the Bailey. Acosta's cultured right foot, or Barreal's left. The wall is 4. It is a critical juncture here. Cincinnati can all but put it away now. It will be Acosta. It's Morton. If you're Louisville, what can you do from this point? Second division side on the road, 5-digit crowd in attendance. You concede after holding up pretty well up to the 85th minute. Is there anything you can do to try and push it just a little bit harder here down the final 100 seconds and stoppage time?
How many lines can they bypass with their play? Direct play is their friend right now. Can they put Cincinnati under pressure from the get-go and try to just get in that final third?
Mushgalusa right to Harris. Got bodied off by Apononu.
Another thing that's been really good for Louisville City in the second half, Elijah Winder has taken those runs from midfield into the forward line. You can create for against the front back line of Cincinnati as well. You're going to put them under pressure because you're going to be a player up against their back three. If you do it quickly, it doesn't allow the wingbacks to get back and get organized, and that might be something that can help them generate opportunities towards the end of this game.
Can puts it out of play. We're in the 90th minute now. Approaching the halfway line, turned over to Ordonez. Cincinnati seek the dagger. Ordonez for Acosta. That's Winder as far as Barreal. Picked up by Pinto and sent through for Ordonez. 5 added minutes.
And it seems like a small thing, but what Winder did to come across was just so important because you don't want that second goal at this stage. You're trying to push. You definitely have to take risks, but you've got to make sure that everything in the back is settled as well, and he does well in that moment.
Serrano. Serrano in behind. That'll be a goal kick. Now, Cincinnati has used all 5 subs, but one of those was through the head injury protocol, and as a result, just the 4th appearance of the season for Yuya Kubo. He said he might well be capped to about 30 minutes on the occasion. This is Pinto coming off. And barring Evan Loro's inclusion, should we get to extra time, this is it for FC Cincinnati, their 6th and final.
I like what Malik Pinto did in that space. He did a really good job defensively. That was a big part of what FC Cincinnati really had to weather early on, was just part of their compact shape there in midfield, and I think he was a big contributor in that regard.
Miazga, 3.5 minutes to play. That was Winder racing forward. This is offside. Well, Cincinnati with a completely rotated lineup, with the exception of Haglund, who came out after just 60 minutes. Withstood a few Louisville chances early. Back the goal in the 85th minute from Kimi Ordonez. That's a free kick for Louisville. Maybe it will be like 2017. Win against Louisville sparking a run. The final stages of the Open Cup. Tosh has essentially joined the attacking line for Louisville City, the center back. Kubo. Acosta for Kubo. Back heel, Barreal! And still it hangs in the balance halfway through stoppage time.
Great combination play. Again, it's just those continued runs from players that are starting the possession higher up the field. It just pulls out the back line. Kubo here starts the initial play off, and then you'll see Acosta joining, playing it in behind. Look at this, the back heel and an open shot. That one just barely goes wide.
Scooped up by Pat Noonan, 3-time an Open Cup champion in Seattle and New England. Harris. Tosh making the central run. It's lashed too far. Maris alone in midfield collects. Moreno closed him down. Dia the support, drives the cross. Too far for Harris. A throw with 1.5 minutes to play. More action to come tonight. Casey and I will take the cross-country flight to Portland. Their game against Orange County kicks off 10:30 Eastern Time on Golazo Network. Give and go with Vasquez and Ordonez. Through for Acosta. Luciano Acosta to the backside. Morton with just fingertips kept it away from Vasquez. You can't help but think maybe there's a little more time they could have taken off the clock.
They're going to really be thinking that if there's any opportunity down here on this end, but a clever ball by Acosta for sure.
Tosh trying to get under it. Kubo. Well done. It's now a matter of seconds. Vasquez. Feathery touch. Forward from Winder. One more clearance might do the job for FC Cincinnati. Can. Back into the Louisville half. We've gone the 5 minutes. Gibson. It has to be forward now for Louisville. It continues still. Maris. Bangs around, a glance at the watch. Kubo. And that's it. FC Cincinnati with Akimi Ordonez, 85th minute winner, are moving on to the round of 32 in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
A really great performance, a team performance from FC Cincinnati. Really good defensively, hard to penetrate, and then they get the timely goal from Ordonez, and not only a great finish and a commitment to get into the box, but just a great buildup.
Well, Cincinnati explores the furthest reaches of the third round. But for the first time in their opening game, they don't have to go to extra time to seal the deal. Let's take a look at Kimi Ordonez's breakthrough for FC Cincinnati. It comes in the 85th minute, and it's Acosta and Barreal, the subs, that tee it up.
And Ordonez gets the final touch there, but you can see him just lurking in that back post area. But the play from Acosta and Barreal, what a great ball across, and that's the difference.
Ordonez first for the first team for FC Cincinnati. Here's a look at the final stats. Louisville, more chances, more possession on paper. Chance for your final thoughts, Casey?
Louisville City definitely retained the possession, and they did turn it into shots, but only that one shot on target advantage for them. But really, at the end of the day, it's just who put it away, and that was FC Cincinnati. A really solid approach from them just to be able to stay in the game and get that goal.
There are more games here on the BR app and BR Football YouTube page, so, you know, you can go to another video, but don't leave the channel, if you know what I'm saying. Dirty River Derby renewed, and it's Cincinnati on top. For our entire team, statistician Mark Switkowski, Casey White, Mike Watts, FC Cincinnati get the goal they need just in the nick of time. No extra time, no problem. Ordonez in the 85th. Cincinnati will wait for tomorrow's draw. They move on to the round of 32.